Hi team, Coach Alexa here, Coach for Reading, South Oxfordshire and online. Had a question in via the app a few days ago from Daniel that I'd like to answer today. And there was maybe a couple of things in there. First of all was having a little bit of a sore knee. The other one was struggling with hay fever and also the rather suddenly increasing temperature and humidity we've been experiencing here in the UK. Bit of a shock to the system after our fairly cold and damp winter. And kind of felt to him like he was mentally sort of struggling a little bit more with the runs, not feeling, as up for it as usual, and maybe putting a little bit of pressure on himself. So couple of topics that I wanted to explore there. First one, a little bit more briefly, any sort of knee soreness or any kind of soreness or niggles or injuries are worth going to see a physio about. We've got a magnificent physio here as part of the team, Physio Megan, so you can ask her questions in this in the Facebook group. Or book a virtual appointment, online appointment with her through the app, or seeing a local physio in person. Worth just getting that checked out. Physios can give you a bit of an assessment, figure out actually what's going on with the knee, and more importantly, what you can do to help it get better and to stop it happening again. So switching over to the other side of things about, hay fever, temperature, humidity, not getting that enjoyment out of the runs. And I'm wondering, one of the things that might be at play here is around the fact that over this last few months of winter, I guess, not had that much varying in the temperature. We've not had that much particularly cold weather. We've had quite a lot of wind, but temperature, for example, has stayed pretty similar. So if you're running your normal routes over the months of the winter, when our body's not that challenged in terms of its cooling system, there'll be a fairly linear relationship between effort level, and effort level can be described in terms of effort perception, heart rate, breathing rate, etc. How much work our body is putting in, and pace. So when we're on a flat route or a familiar route that you do, quite often, and the weather is pretty static, all the other conditions are pretty static, there'll be a fairly linear relationship with the effort that you're putting in, breathing and heart rate, etc., and the pace that you're getting out. However, this so seemingly linear relationship isn't that simple most of the time. And Daniel, you've come up with two great examples there of where other big factors start to come into play and impact that relationship and change it. So the amount of effort you're putting in and the heart rate and breathing rate associated with that starts to not equal directly a change in pace. So one of those that you mentioned there, which is a massive thing at the moment, is the temperature and the humidity. Now, this is even more of an issue for mid-late May than it would usually be because we've had such a cold and, let's be honest, miserable start to the year. We have had nothing in the way of heat adaptation up to this point. Think back to that first COVID spring in 2020. We'd had hot weather pretty much since mid-May, and so by this point in that year, we would be much more heat acclimatised. So it will take us a little while, a good few weeks of consistently warmer weather, which is not what we often get here in the UK, to adapt to those temperatures. So that is a factor. So when it's hotter, effort level will go up, pace will not go up as much as it usually would for the same effort level. It will maybe go up a little bit or not at all, because your body's having to work that much harder on keeping itself cool. And as I've covered in previous videos, when it's humid, our body's cooling system, that sweat evaporation, doesn't work half as efficiently as it would do on a less humid day. Hay fever is an immune response. So hay fever is our immune system getting slightly inexplicably really annoyed about pollen and trying to react to it in the same way it would react to a respiratory virus. So that is a system in our body that's ramping up its energy consumption. In our brain and bodies, it's ramping itself up the priority list. It's taking energy and it's preserving and keeping energy for that, what it perceives to be really important immune system work. That again means that when you're sat on the sofa, but you probably don't notice it just day to day when you're not doing exercise. But when you're doing exercise, it means that that effort level will be higher for that same pace. So again, it's another factor that disrupts or changes that seemingly linear relationship between effort level, heart rate, breathing rate going up and pace going up. Now, you mentioned in your message, actually, another really common and sort of popular one to experience is hills. So it kind of makes sense, perhaps, when you think about it, that on a hill, if you kept the same effort level, your pace would have to slow down, right? Because you're kind of going up the hill against gravity. So in order to do a run of a consistent effort level, for example, a low heart rate endurance, easy effort run, you're going up a hill, you'd have to slow your pace down in order for that effort level to stay the same. If you're going uphill and you try and maintain the same pace, the effort level will go up, which is why I often say hills are speed work in disguise. If you try and maintain the same speed up a hill, you're going up at least a couple of training zones, and so you're doing a speed session now, not an endurance session. So I think there's a practical thing here, perhaps, for all runners, because lots of runners, self-experiment and realise that there's a lot of other variables that impact effort level, breathing rate, heart rate versus pace. It's worth thinking about those other factors that impact that relationship. And when you go out for a run, bear in mind that the training effect of that run, so the outcome of that run and which aspects of your fitness it's worked on, are driven by effort level, breathing and heart rate, not pace. So the cardiovascular workout, the workout that the body gets, is based on what heart rate zone you're in and your breathing and your effort level. What pace you end up running, as we've seen, varies up and down, not just according to effort level, but according to effort level and a whole other load of variables. So thinking about your runs in terms of effort level, breathing and heart rate, not pace alone, would be a really, really good place to start, because that means that it self-adapts. If you're having to go out an early evening on a really hot and muggy day, you actually get a good training session where you've hit the outcomes and you're not going to feel really wrung out at the end of it by forcing yourself to do the same pace as you were doing 3 months ago in the winter. You're getting the right training outcomes by pacing to effort level as opposed to pace itself. And the other thing I would say is that it's not necessary to kind of be pushing yourself in every run. Endurance build runs should feel really gentle. You could have a proper natter with a friend on the phone while you're running round. You should be able to talk in quite lengthy sentences on each out breath. You should get to the end feeling like you could have easily carried on. So that's a big, important part of training from every endurance event, and that includes down to the 5K. That is also an endurance event. So not every run needs to be one where you feel like you've had a real workout, because more often those ones that feel more high effort, working into those higher training zones for speed, for power, which is great and can be awesome and really fun and really useful for your training. But actually the bread and butter for most running distances, unless you're doing the 100 or 200 metres, is long and slow and easy. Thinking about it in terms of effort level, breathing and heart rate. So I hope that's useful. And it might help as well, that those sort of practical suggestions mean that you get to the end of the runs not feeling wiped out, not feeling disappointed in yourself because that pace has been off because of other factors outside of your control. Pacing to effort means that each run can have its own success criteria that you're in control of, and hopefully when you've had a few more positive runs, that mindset gets back into, that positive mindset comes more to the fore again, and you start enjoying things a little bit more. It's worth adding as well, just going out for runs that don't have a fitness goal, maybe trying to stick to that easy sort of zone 2, but having a run that just takes in a really nice view, or takes you to a little cafe where you can have a cup of tea and then run back, or running for fun as opposed to only for training is something I'd highly, highly recommend as well. Happy running.